Hey, pro-lifer, Protestant Cathedral. Demand the bishop charge abortionists under the UCMJ, which would be the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Because it's probably not well known, but the bishop has power and authority to file charges and specifications against abortionists for the violation of Article 119, 119A of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, which is death or injury of an unborn child. And as it turns out, so can a military chaplain. Right? A Christian military chaplain has the same power. They are a commissioned officer in the military, and they can certainly file charges under the UCMJ. I'm just saying, we'll file them against an abortionist, and I'm going to show you why you can here in this video. That's the idea, at least. Yeah, hang on a second here. Okay, then. So it's Sunday, March 19th, 2023, and I am Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Rutluski, U.S. Army veteran, also known as Rob Ryder. My email address is courtofrecord@aol.com, and my YouTube channel is Rob Ryder, R-O-B-B-B, 3 B's, R-O-B-B-B-R-Y-D-E-R, Rob Ryder on YouTube. And so if you're a pro-lifer and you've been told to go watch this video, because I'm going to ask anybody who knows a pro-lifer to please send them this video to watch, and you get involved in things like protesting Planned Parenthood and so forth, I'm going to show you why that your efforts are best used protesting at the Catholic Cathedral of the diocese that you find yourself in, because that person there, that bishop, has this power. Now, I'm going to say from the beginning, it's just not the bishop. All Christian churches have this power. It's just, I'm going to talk about the bishop in the Catholic Church because they are the ones who wrote the most about it and how they got the power in the first place, which basically happened in 1917, where they were given a military commission to this organization that they created. And but that's all, for what we're going to talk about in the video. So let's get on with this. Again, if you've not watched my videos before, if you went to Rob Ryder, R-O-B-B-B-R-Y-D-E-R, on YouTube, you would see I've done many videos, and it's now over 400, I'm sure, and at least 350 of them are kind of like this video I'm doing now, where I'm going to pick a subject and pick it apart, and you can get an idea of the different ones I've done in the past. But here, just recently, I did one called Catholics Have a By-the-Book Military Solution to Abortion. Right, and this one I'm doing now follows along the same lines. And yeah, there's lots of problems in the United States, and I can't go through them all. I guess that's what I want to tell you right now. I'm going to talk about things you may not have heard before, but be assured that the things I'm going to tell you that are important to you, I'm going to show you where it comes from in the law, so that you don't have any fear of charging ahead to try to get something to happen. Because if we don't go complain to these people, they're not going to do anything. They're not coming to us. If we're going to get an answer, we're going to have to go to them and demand an answer. And so while it's almost impossible to get anything through the civil system and where the black-robed priest sits as a judge, it could be different if we go to the military system, because the truth of the matter is the United States is still under martial law since the Civil War, since President Lincoln declared it in 1863. And you can watch this very recent video, Objection, Union is Greater than the United States of America, to get the idea that there's these two different things that exist, the United States and the United States of America. And they're not the same. And the one we want to be in is the United States, but the one that we've been forced to be part of is the United States of America, which, let's call that the democracy, where the republic is the United States. That's the union. That's where we want to be. And I'm trying to get back there. And so one of the ways is to show the church that it has this power, because it has, the Christian churches have ordained ministers that are commissioned officers of the military. Right? They're called chaplains. And there's a board, the chief chaplain of each branch that sit together on a board, right? There's a board of chaplains. Well, they're all generals. You got 5 generals sitting on a board. So I don't care that what their religious duties are. I want their military duty, because I'm trying to protect the Constitution of the United States, which is in my oath and it's in their oath, because they're commissioned officers. But I'm just saying, we're going to get there, using this other avenue that was put in place for us to use back in 1917 by really smart people who were looking out ahead for the days when it would be necessary, and we find ourselves in those days now. Okay, so hang on a second, we'll get going. And probably the easiest way to do that for me is just to read, first of all, this short little letter that I've been sending out to Catholic military chaplains, or to, there was an association of chaplains, I sent them a copy. I sent a copy to the chaplain's office, the places I've served at, and, just send them out here and there just to, make people know that, hey, Rhett Lusky's paying attention. And in it, then, I think you'll find this quite interesting, because from this, then I'll go prove all these points, so that any chaplain that might watch this, or, like I said, pro-lifer that wants to go convince the bishop or military chaplain, well, you'll be fully informed. So, sir, thank you for your service to God, country, and soldiers. Fate has put you and all other military chaplains in a unique position at a time foretold by President Washington. He was a deathbed Catholic convert, as a result of his visitation by the Virgin Mary, who called him Son of the Republic, saying to him, look and learn, while showing him 3 great domestic battles that the Union would endure, and of which we are now deep into the 3rd and final battle. If you're unfamiliar with the United States First Commander-in-Chief's vision, then you can listen to it at this link, which, let's just go take a look real quick what that is, in case I forget to put the link in, right? But it's called George Washington's Vision, and it was put in by the Mace 915, because you'll find many versions of this when you start to get in. This is the one I was talking about. And mainly because I had this nice picture that somebody painted. There's the Virgin Mary, and there's George. Here's the angel that he sees in his vision. It has a sword in one hand, the flag of the Union in the other, and an angel wearing a crown, headband, that says Union on it. And that the Union is going to survive the battle. Well, the Union is the United States. Right? It says so in the Constitution. And one of the things I have to show you here in a little bit, well, there's actually the Constitution that the Army uses, which is for the United States, and there's the one that Congress uses, which is for the United States of America. Because they're two different things. The United States of America is a dominion of King George III and his successors that was allowed to be here by treaty, the Treaty of Peace of 1783, after the after the end of hostilities, because not everybody in the United States at that time had been against the king. There were many that were loyal to the king. Well, they were given a chance to have their own society called the United States of America. Well, we've been coerced to be in that, right? There, the Constitution of the United States doesn't apply. There, they use the Constitution of the United States of America. We need to be where the Constitution of the United States is, because that's where the Army is. That's the place that I said I would defend, protect and defend. Is it protect and defend? The Constitution of the United States? We'll have to look at the oaths. Okay, so this is all, I'm just saying, this is based on history of George Washington himself. So the Virgin Mary, President Washington, and Union Victory require your active participation in winning the spiritual battle for the soul of our country. And as it turns out, the Catholic Church in the United States, in cooperation with Departments of War and Navy, provided you the power and authority to do so. Now remember, I'm writing this to military chaplains, right? These people are commissioned officers of the Army of the United States who took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, not of the United States of America. So then, my reason for contacting you is to provide you proof of the truth that Christian military chaplains have unique power and authority to combat injustice and to convince you to use it. Because this just doesn't apply to abortions. This is all sorts of injustices that these people have power to put an end to because of the office that they hold. They're like a Romans chapter 13 ordained minister of God who's, in control of the sword. Right? They don't wield the sword. They just tell the sword what to do. And the sword does it itself. And the sword cuts two ways. Right? And so right now, it's not being used in our advantage, the sword being the army, the military. Right? Because that's what we're talking about. This is going to be using the Uniform Code of Military Justice to enforce military law, not civilian courts trying to enforce civilian law. So, sir, did you know that killing an unborn child is considered manslaughter under Article 119A of the Uniform Code of Military Justice? It certainly is. We can go read it ourselves. And so that's why I did. I put them a link in there to the Uniform Code. Did you know that the conditions required by Article 2 of General Orders 100, that would be the LIFER Code, to end martial law have never transpired, and as a result, the United States has been under military rule since 1863. So in the LIFER Code, in Article 2, it says once martial law has been declared, or has started, it doesn't even need to be declared, but once we're in martial law, then it takes a special proclamation, an order of the commander-in-chief, or a treaty to end it. And none of those things happened after the Civil War, right? It ended in an armistice, which is a prolonged ceasefire. So no end to the war. Well, the same thing happened in World War I, where they pretended to do a peace treaty. I mean, they actually said they're doing one. But if you look at the names that the war was declared on and who they said that the peace treaty's with, they're not the same entities. But even more important, it was never ratified. So there was never a peace treaty, right? So we've been at war domestically and foreign and domestic starting in 1863. So anyways, the deep state government in the United States is a parasitic version with no constitutional authority, created by enemies of the Union who believe that the United States are governed by the Noahide laws. They actually wrote a law that said that it is. None of these individuals have executed the oath required by the first act of Congress signed into law by President Washington, which would be 1 Stat 23, after ratification of the Constitution of the United States. The fact is that all government agencies are wartime creations answerable to the Armed Forces of the United States under the UCMJ if charges are filed. And that's just the simple fact, and that's what we're going to use as our leverage. That fact right there. All these agencies, any place with the gold fringe flag is answerable to the Armed Forces of the United States, which includes churches. They got gold fringe flags. But not only are they answerable, they get to talk to them. Right? This is the thing. They have the authority to act as an agent, which is something we as an individual don't have. And during a time of war, you can't go directly to the agency yourself. You're supposed to go through an agent. And none of that ever happened, or is happening. It can. I mean, it's all been set up. It's just not happening. Because did you know that since 1917, the Catholic Church in the United States has a military commission issued to the Church's National Catholic War Council by the Departments of Navy and War and Navy. Proof of which is the display of the military gold fringe flag of the United States in dioceses and parishes and Catholic priests serving as commissioned officer chaplains. Right? A deal was cut. It wasn't cut with the Catholic Church. It wasn't cut with Rome. It was cut with an organization that the archbishops put together called the National Catholic War Council, which we'll see is similar, very similar to what the other churches did in the United States, other Christian churches. Did you know that the public outdoor display of the flag of the United States, except schools, and indoor display of a gold fringe flag of the United States is evidence of an agency relationship between the flag displaying entity, such as a township, county board, courts, hospitals, Christian churches, sheriffs, governors, countless government agencies, etc., between all of them and the Armed Forces of the United States. The public outdoor and indoor display of the flag of the United States is regulated by Chapter 2 of Army Regulation 840-10. Did you know that this agency relationship makes the agent subject to military law under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and that the acceptance of federal funding makes the accepting individual or organization liable to federal law, including the UCMJ? Because at the end of the day, the Uniform Code of Military Justice is just a chapter out of Title 10 of the United States Code. So either way, you could say it's the Uniform UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice, or you could just say it's Chapter 47 of Title 10, right? So federal law is federal law. They can't run away from it. Therefore, the Catholic Church in the United States, through the National Catholic War Council, could report offenses under the Manual of Court Martial, Rule 301, against doctors, hospitals, Planned Parenthood, etc., all of whom are subject to the UCMJ. Even though the Church is not now using its authority, I'm confident it will. I say the Church forgot it has a National Catholic War Council, and that any righteous Catholic bishop who is properly informed of the facts can invoke the dormant agency powers given bishops under the National Catholic War Council. It's like a battleship, right? I mean, it's been mothballed. They never canceled the military commission given the National Catholic War Council. It's just dormant. And that's not the military's fault. It's the Church's fault, right? Actually, the Church is AWOL. Even more immediate is that a commissioned officer, a military chaplain could file charges and specifications in accordance with Article 30 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice with the chief chaplain of his branch seated on the Armed Forces Chaplain Board and let military officers rule on the matter. It's worth noting that the mainline Protestant churches have similar arrangement as the Catholic Church in the United States has through the General Wartime Commission of Churches created for that purpose, right? So they got together and created their own commission. It's all pre-planned, done for a purpose, and provided military chaplains, all of whom are also commissioned officers of the Armed Forces of the United States. Wartime agencies of the churches, Director and Handbook, General Wartime Commission. That was a link to a book that talks about all this stuff. This power and authority to use punitive articles of the UCMJ upon all flag-flying wartime agencies is not by accident, nor is the need to act. I have attached a copy of the National Catholic War Council Handbook, a book about Catholic War Service, copy 1 Stat 23, 4 USC 101, and Public Law 102.14, which pertains to Noahide laws. We'll get to all those in just a second. The handbook and bulletins explain the council's hierarchical structure down to parish level, the empowering of the diocese bishop as the head of the Diocesan War Council, and establishing parish councils staffed by the laity to act as cooperating agents representing parishioners with other wartime agencies, and for the providing priest as commissioned military officer chaplains. The Catholic War Service book explains the effort of the Church from the beginning of this country to be recognized as loyal to the United States, and the Church's effort to obtain the military commission. It really wanted this to happen. Right? If the United States is going to go to war and call on Catholics to go fight the war, then the Catholics are going to get something for it, and that was representation. As did all the other churches. I'm just pointing out that this is, the Catholics knew what they were doing, and so did the other churches. And why they don't talk about it anymore, I don't know. But, we can talk about it and make them listen. The Armed Forces is an all-volunteer service requiring individuals volunteer to use their authority to do the right thing. It cannot be overstated how important it is for the future of the Union for the churches to voluntarily use this military commission to enforce the Golden Rule and stop all injustices caused by esquires acting as attorneys and judges, which is what every court in the United States today is. It's run by esquires, which by definition is a crown agent, right? That's not lawyers, they're esquires, acting as attorneys and judges. corrupt politicians and other professionals taking advantage of the people of God by acts of bad faith, which is an everyday occurrence in the world we live in, be it banking, taxes, whatever. I mean, did you know if you're a homeowner and you believe that you have a mortgage or a deed of trust, right? The reality is that the bank, the lender, never sat down and signed a contract with you. There is no signed contract by the bank, and therefore there is no loan. It's just simple as that. That's just the way business is. Now, I know this because I used to sell printing presses. And we weren't going to sell jack unless both parties signed the contract. And that's all this is. They didn't, no loan was ever made. It may have been talked about, could have been all sorts of paper done, but the bank never signed the papers. And so the payments that you're making aren't paying off a loan. They're going into an account. They're going into this, what do they call it? The escrow account. It's going into an escrow account. Right? Your payments are not going to pay off anything. They're going to an escrow account and they're being invested and somebody else is living off the interest. How'd you like that? And then if you look at the paperwork for your deed, it's not been done properly. It's full of errors and omissions. It doesn't have your name on it as you being the owner, as being they like to say the grantee, but it doesn't say, like myself, Robert Allen Rutluski, grantee. It would say Robert A. Rutluski, single man grantee. Make some kind of monster out of your full legal name. But it's not been registered to do business under, so it's really, it's a fictitious name that has no legal standing. Right? This is just the things they do. So that name on that document, let's call that your deed, and the description of the property on it will not match the name and the description of the property that will come on the tax bill that you're going to be told you got to pay taxes on. Right? Your property taxes don't have the same style of name as the grantee does on the deed, because that's what we're saying. Well, that's what I bought, so that's what I should be paying taxes on if I got to pay taxes. Well, that isn't what's on the damn paperwork you're going to get for your taxes. Neither is a legal description. They're both different. So you pay taxes on something you don't even claim to own. This is the injustice that's done daily by people who use their coercive force on us and, make us do what they say. And it's simply because we don't have an agent to take our complaint to the military to say, hey, these yahoos are supposed to be, running things are taking advantage of us. Because they're all answerable to the military. So the National Catholic War Council was commissioned by the Departments of Army and Navy during a time of war, and that commission can only be revoked by a military order, which I am quite sure does not exist. You, again, the chaplain, are proof of that fact. Why? Well, because there's an ordained minister seated in an office as a commissioned officer. Well, that didn't happen unless there's an agreement someplace. Be advised that the National Catholic War Council is now AWOL, and the Union suffers because of it. These end this suffering caused by lack of knowledge, right? Because once we tell people what's supposed to happen, it can happen. In closing, I have a YouTube channel, Rob Ryder. I think I talked about that. Yep. Did the video. Veterans specifically are in need of the church using this agency relationship on their behalf, as certain military service entitlements are only available by application. And it's the Parochial War Council that is tasked to act as our agent, which is a very important thing. See, we're supposed to do things by application, but we're not supposed to go directly to these wartime agencies. We're supposed to go through a cooperating agent. So it's not a stretch to say that a military chaplain possesses the power and authority over the sword as is described in Romans chapter 13. With all the harm done to the Union by children of the devil, acting as politicians, judges, law enforcement, local government, you must use your office to end the injustice. I'm not saying all those people are children of the devil. I'm saying they're being run by children of the devil, and that some of them are children of the devil. The rest of them are, good people allowing bad shit to happen, and that's just got to stop. So anyways, that's what I had sent, right? And now I'm waiting to see if I can get an answer. And in the meantime, I said, well, I'll do a video and I'll see if I can get some pro-lifers to go stand in front of the bishop's office and, protest. So now let's see where these things come from exactly so that you are fully advised of, this little slice that we're talking about today, which is just simply this, that because the persons, whether they're natural or artificial, so like Planned Parenthood is an artificial person, right? But it's still considered a person. A doctor, well, as a doctor, he's an artificial person because he's really not using his full legal name. But as a doctor on his paperwork, well, he's a real natural person, who by license has a license to be a doctor. The funny thing is they don't ever use the name on their license when they sign paperwork. And neither does an attorney. An attorney has a full legal name. We all have a full legal name. Mine's Robert Allen Rutluski. This name you're supposed to use in legal matters. That's why it's called a legal name. But they never use theirs. They use a name with a middle initial, right? Which is not their full legal name. It may be the name of some fictitious person they want to pretend to be, just like an artificial person, just like Planned Parenthood, but it's not their legal name. And that's, just the smoke and mirrors that's played by the democracy to keep us in the dark. Okay, let's look at a few things and I'll be done. Just to show you that the people who say that they're the Congress, right, whereas Congress recognizes the historical tradition of ethical values and principles, which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our great nation was founded, whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. We need to stop right there because the nation I'm from was not founded on the Noahide laws. It was founded on the Constitution of the United States. So the Congress believes that the nation that they're under, the United States of America, is under the Noahide laws. I say, well, that's fine for you, but I'm not from the United States of America. I'm from the United States, right? Education Day, USA, United States of America. So anyway, they said it. This is Public Law 102.14, March 20, 1991. 105 Stat 44. So I'm not going to read the whole thing because that's enough for me. That shit needs to go. And to show that the Protestants, they do have a wartime agencies of the churches, directory and handbook. And in this book, it goes through and it lists all the different agencies that were created by this, different churches, right? Northern Baptist Convention, they created the War Commission of the Northern Baptist Convention, the War Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention, War Council, the Home Mission Board, Christian churches, they had their own, so forth and so on. So all these churches, even got Jewish Welfare Board, United States Army and Navy. Now, why is that under a church agency of allegedly Christian churches? I don't understand that because the Jewish, they're certainly not Jews. They're false Jews, but they're not Christians. But for the rest of you, there it is. I mean, right, there's the Roman Catholic, got the National Catholic War Council. So this is listing all these different organizations that were created, and all of these were given a commission of some kind by the War Department and Navy, Department of Navy and War. And, it's an order from the military. It's not been, unless there's an order ending the order, then the order still stands. So make them show you the order that it's been decommissioned, and you can say it was decommissioned, but until then, the commission is still good. Maybe it's just dormant. But the ones that wrote the most about it that I could find was the Catholic Church. They put this handbook together that kind of shows a hierarchical structure of what the National Catholic War Council would look like. So while the other book kind of lists all these different churches have a council. This one says, well, here's the council, and let's see what it looks like on the inside. And we're not going to go through this whole thing, of course, but there are a few pages that are of interest. So let's just look at them real quick. For instance, the National Catholic War Council, the purpose of the council, yeah, we'll look at that. We'll see that they have a Catholic Army and Navy Chaplain Bureau was part of it. Right, going to have a formation of a Diocesan War Council, which this is where the bishop comes in because he's in charge of the Diocesan War Council. And then under that will be these cooperative work of the parishes, right, where the whole idea was to make these parish level laity run committees, be the day-to-day face that the other parishioners would deal with if they had some kind of issue that required something from some kind of agency that, somebody else flying a gold fringe flag or against somebody else flying a gold fringe flag. Whatever. If you wanted to petition the government for the redress of grievances, you would go to your cooperating agent to do so. And this is what they did with the churches. They made them the cooperating agent to go to. And then here's the agencies that they get to work with, right? This is just a sample, like the Department of Treasury, the Department of War and Navy, Agriculture, Labor, National Defense, Food Administration. Now, all these have changed, and again, it's just, an idea. But any place that has a gold fringe flag is somebody that's involved. So the establishment of a National Catholic War Council, purpose, scope, and activities. When the declaration of war was made by the United States against the German Empire, every part of the organization, the church, immediately became solicitous to do its share in assisting the government. Activities of all kinds were begun by the Catholic men and women in various parts of the country, individual as well as corporate cooperation, such movements as the Belgian Relief, Red Cross. Shortly after the declaration of war, the loyalty to the Catholic hierarchy of the clergy, the people was pledged anew to the country. Now let's think about that. The Catholic hierarchy pledged the loyalty of Catholics to the United States. So that's an offer being made to the president, right, to its government and to its supreme executive in a letter to the president, Wilson, drawn up by the archbishops in their annual meeting April 17th. And that letter was accepted and replied to. So offer and acceptance happened and, da-da-da. So what happened? All right, this happy result was an index of the patriotism of the Catholic body. And when the government asked that organized lay agencies should take up their share in caring for soldiers and sailors, the Catholic body was eager to assist in the well-being of all men in the service, because that puts you in connection. Right, this lay organization is now directly tied to the military because it has a duty to take care of the soldiers and sailors. Well, as it turns out, once you join the military, you stay in. Right, I'm a soldier for life. Anybody who served is. Most people, when they get a DD-214 and they say, "Well, this is your document, it says you're discharged from the military," when you look at it, it says that that the last place they were sent to was the reserves. Other ones will say the last place they were sent to is terminal leave. Or like on mine, it'll say basically nothing and have no signature, and from myself saying that I ever did it. Right, and none of us have an order saying we were ever discharged from the military, so we're all still in the military, and that's why we need to have these organizations, because we need you to do things for us with the Treasury. They had a National Catholic organization of some kind was necessary after the entrance of the United States into the war in April 16, 1917. Soon became apparent. All right, secondly, local boards should be established in the various dioceses. Hierarchical structure. Convention pledged that united power of the combined resources of the entire Catholic body and all Catholic organizations to assist the government in every need and problem arising in the war. Again, this is a pledge. This is like taking an oath. So that's why they have this. Why the bishop has a duty to use his power to stop abortions. They place on the record their hearty approbation of admirable regulations made by our War and Navy departments for the safeguard of our camps, cantonments, naval and military establishments, moral dangers incident to camp life. And then in November, the archbishops of the United States constituted themselves a National Catholic War Council and appointed it as their administrative committee for bishops. And to direct and control in the aid of American hierarchy all Catholic activities in the war. Well, that'd be trying to point out violations of Article 119A of the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice, right? The killing of an unborn child, or larceny, or defrauding the United States, or God knows how many other things there are that are happening every day that are all punitive article infractions under the UCMJ. We're just going to the wrong place. We're going to the people committing the act to try to get them fixed. It ain't going to work too well. And then just to show that formation of the Diocesan War Councils, right? The National Catholic War Council touches every diocese and every national Catholic activity. And the hope is that through the Diocesan War Council, every Catholic man and woman will be interested in and informed about the work of cooperation. Well, they ain't never told me nothing. This is the desire of the National Catholic War Council that not only in every diocese, but also in every parish in the country, a Catholic War Council committee be established. All right, the bishop of each diocese will know what best answers, needs, resources of his own diocese. The head of the Diocesan War Council is, of course, the bishop of the diocese. Well, simple enough then. So this bishop of the diocese could do a couple of things. He could contact the Armed Forces Chaplain Board, right, which has they got a major general, brigadier general, an admiral, rear admiral lower half, and a major general. We've got 5 general officers sitting on a board. So he could call them and say, we got a problem here with abortionists. What do we do? Or, because, he is the bishop of, or some bishops are bishops of chaplains who have gone, or priests who have gone to become chaplains. And then there's actually another archbishop for the military, that they could order a military chaplain to file charges and specifications under the UCMJ. But, what can they do? Well, that's what they can do. They can call somebody. They can say, hey, this is a violation of Article 119A of the UCMJ, this killing of children, unborn children, and it's being done at a place that got a frickin' flag flying outside, which means that's the United States, and that's where we have jurisdiction, is in the United States. Maybe outside the United States, across the street from where the flag is, they got no jurisdiction. But where the flag is, they have all jurisdiction. It's just they're not being called, by the right method to have them come and do something about it. That right method is use the cooperating agency given to us through the different war councils or whatever they ended up being called after as a result of World War I. In fact, this is, how big this is. This is the United Methodist building. Right? It's the only non-governmental building on Capitol Hill that houses Washington officers of a number of ecumenical groups. If you look at a map of where it is, let me get that over here a little bit further. Right, here's the Capitol. Here's the Supreme Court. Come on, it's right next to the Supreme Court. It's like right here, if it'll ever show up. Yeah, here we go. Here's Supreme Court of the United States, and right across the street is the United Methodist Building, which was started in 1918. 1918. 1918. after this whole deal thing had been done. Catholics did their deal. All the Protestant churches did their deal. The Jewish people did their deal. Everybody had a deal. It's just we're not using our deal that we have as a cooperating agent for the benefit of everybody that is in the territory that would be called a parish. Okay, and in that little letter I wrote, I talked about the fact that people that accepted federal funding were subject to federal law. And that comes out of the federal government authority to impose conditions on grant funds. Where it says, and here it talks about commonly known as a spending clause, right, has been widely recognized, providing federal government legal authority to offer federal grants to states and localities that are contingent on recipients engaging in, refraining from certain activities. And it goes on to say what they are, and one of them here is not to violate other provisions of the Constitution. Well, okay, what's the Constitution say that we can use for our benefit? We'll come back to this one in just a second. Let's go to Article 6. Where it says that this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the constitutional laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. Therefore, since the UCMJ is part of Title 10, and Title 10 is part of the laws of the United States, then they're subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, I wanted to show this. This says Constitution annotated, and it says constitution.congress.gov. So you say, okay, well, this is the Constitution the Congress is using. And when you go look at Article 2 of the Constitution that Congress is using, which they call the U.S. Constitution, they don't say it's the Constitution of the United States. They said U.S. Constitution. Isn't that interesting? And we go and we look here at Article 2 of their Constitution that Congress uses. It says, now these are the people that believe the Noahide laws govern the country. It says that the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Well, I always had a problem with that because it's like, well, my oath says I'm taking an oath to the president of the United States. All right, let's look at that real quick. All right, oath of enlistment. I do solemnly swear or affirm I'll support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Right, Constitution of the United States, not United States of America. But the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States. It didn't say United States of America. It says the President of the United States. And the orders of officers appointed over me according to regulations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God, right? That's the oath of every enlistee, and we're still in because we volunteered, folks. That's right. You're still bound by your oath of enlistment. Now, here's one that an officer takes. And they put their name in, and then they put their Social Security number. Well, they call it SSAN, not just SSN. They say SSAN is a Social Security number. That's the acronym. Where we usually put SSNB in. So there, it's another one of these little devil in the details things. But they were appointed an officer of the Army of the United States. Well, that's what U.S.Army stands for. It doesn't stand for United States Army. It stands for Army of the United States. So when you wear a uniform that says U.S.Army, you're part of the Army of the United States. Because that's who they had, who they have jurisdiction over, and they're claiming jurisdiction over me, so I must be in the Army of the United States. Well, that isn't where the discharge document they give you comes from. I gotta talk about that later. But as indicated above and agreed of, whatever, do solemnly swear to support, defend the Constitution of the United States. Or at least we're supporting and defending the same Constitution of the United States. Well, that Constitution, where is it here? is in the Manual of Court Martials. All right, so this is the Army's, or the Army. I keep saying the Army. I was, if you didn't know, yeah, I served 8 years in the Army. So yes, this is the Army's Constitution, Constitution of the United States, 1787. And it says in its Article 2, Section 1, that the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. Well, that's not what Congress said. Let's go look again real quick. Executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. So they're not the same Constitution. They have a lot of the same clauses that say the same things, but, the devil is in the details, and the President of the United States of America is not the same office as the office of President of the United States, which is what this is what the Army says. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States, not United States of America. Don't let anybody tell you different. Okay, hang on again just for a second. And then I just want to show a couple things out of this book here. It's called The American Catholics in the War, right? It was from the National Catholic War Council, 1917, 1921. Now they may want you to believe that the National Catholic War Council was disbanded, and that isn't what happened. But during this time, they're talking about this is what happened and how it became. And I just want to read a couple things out here, so let me go find them. Okay, so yeah, on page 9, it says that these Catholic citizens constituted a mighty factor in the sum total of that irresistible power of the American nation, which was called into action by a president in April 1917. The service they rendered form a chapter of prime importance in the history of American war work and led directly to the most momentous action taken by the American Catholic Church since the decision of the last plenary council, namely, the permanent organization and coordination of the Catholic activities, both clerical and lay, under the control of the hierarchy and the National Catholic Welfare Council. So, this National Catholic Welfare, okay, this is the one that they created from the National Catholic War Council. So the National Catholic War Council created another entity within itself called the National Catholic Welfare Council. Then they had to change the name because they couldn't have council twice. The Pope made them change the name to National Catholic Welfare Committee or something like that. When it is affirmed, as indeed it most truthfully may be affirmed, that the Catholic Church in the United States fulfilled its duty of loyalty and patriotic service to the government of the country. So, the church says it already did what it needed to do to have the authority it has. The problem is the bishop isn't using it. I'm just saying the bishop's got more than one way to do it. He could make a phone call to the, to the War Council or to the Armed Forces Chaplain Board, talk to them. They even got somebody to call. Here, I'll find you their phone number. In case you're a bishop, just happen to be watching. Look at Armed Forces Chaplains Board, Department of Defense. Wait for it. It's coming. Right? You can contact the executive director. There's his email address. They give him a phone number for him? I guess you have to use email. Let me give him a phone number. Lieutenant Colonel Dale Marlowe. And tell him what's going on. Tell him you want to file charges under the, where are you? Now let's look at the Manual of Court Martials real quick. See, because once the bishop calls somebody, well, do they have jurisdiction? The jurisdiction of a court-martial is entirely penal and disciplinary. The code applies in all places. Where's that one little line? The requisites for court-martial jurisdiction. A court-martial always has jurisdiction to determine whether it has jurisdiction. Otherwise, for a court-martial to have jurisdiction, the court-martial must be convened by an official empowered to convene it. So if the bishop was to contact, the general's board, they can convene a court-martial and decide if they have jurisdiction. Then we don't have, then the question can be answered: do they have jurisdiction or not over that hospital down the road with the flag flying out in front of it that's allowing abortions to be performed by doctors who've accepted federal funding, that are being solicited by an artificial person called Planned Parenthood. That's an accessory to the crime. Right? It's the conspirator putting the whole thing together. Take them all down. And let's see what else I want to show in this real quick. All right, well, who can report an offense? Who may report an offense? Any person may report an offense subject to trial by court-martial. Okay, well, to do that, though, you have to use the agency. And the agency is the National Catholic War Council, or, one of the other Protestant churches' war councils. Right? That's the people that have the agency. They're the ones that can report the offense. We're supposed to go to them, and they're supposed to go file it with whoever needs to be filed with. Just saying that, the bishop can circumvent all that because he's in charge of the Diocesan War Council. He just go do it himself. So that's how it's done, right? That's that simple, doing it through the court-martial system. Now, the other system would be to use the UCMJ, which we're not necessarily going to go into right now. But it says in there under Article 30, it says what it takes for somebody, who's bound by the UCMJ to file charges and specifications. And that's what the commissioned officer, military chaplain could do. So all the pieces are there. It's just a matter of putting them together and using them. My point there, pro-lifer, is you're protesting the wrong place. You got to go protest at the cathedral and demand the bishop charge abortionists under the UCMJ. All right, take him a copy, Article 119A, and show it to him. In fact, let me show you how easy that is to find. So if you search on UCMJ, you'll find different kinds of hits, and the one I'm using is this Appendix 2, Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is going to pop out here, and we'll just take a quick look at a couple things since I'm going through the trouble of getting the dang thing. Let's look at it real quick. Yeah, and I believe this reason this is Appendix 2 is this is coming out of the Manual on Court Martials, right? But it's Chapter 47 of Title 10, Uniform Code of Military Justice. And it goes through here and it says in Article 2, persons subject to this chapter. The following persons are subject to this chapter: members of the regular component of the armed forces, including those awaiting discharge after expiration of the term of enlistment, volunteers from the time of their muster or acceptance into the armed forces. Stop right there. Well, everybody in the armed forces now volunteered. So anybody who volunteered from the time of their muster or acceptance in the armed forces, from that time, you are subject to the UCMJ. It doesn't say in here that it ever goes away. Right? Inductees from the time of their actual induction. So if you were drafted, you're under the UCMJ. You should really never ever be going to a black robe priest court. You should demand trial by court martial. Because we're under the UCMJ, and this is what we need the church to help us with, or these cooperating agents to help us with. So yeah, that's that. And then just real quick, just because I like to be thorough, Article 30, charge and specifications. So this is either 10 USC for United States Code, subsection 830, or it's called Article 30 in the UCMJ. But under Title 10, it's, subsection 830. May be preferred only by a person subject to this chapter, and shall be preferred by presenting in writing, signed under oath, before a commissioned officer of the armed forces who is authorized to administer oaths. The writing under subsection shall state that the signer has personal knowledge of or has investigated the matter set forth in the charges and specifications, and blah, blah, blah. So nowhere in here does it say, no, I have to go to JAG first, right? I got to go talk to an attorney before I do this. No, you have the power to do it immediately, sir. Just salute the flag and go put the paperwork in. That's how we get stuff done. Don't go talk to the attorney. He's an esquire. We just had a JAG attorney, basically tell us this. That before he was a JAG attorney, he was an esquire. All right, I was helping Dana up in Kalkaska, and we were trying to get something done, using the complaint system through the commander of the Grayling Post, Camp Grayling, right, National Guard camp. And at least he gave it to JAG, and JAG did call. We had a chance to talk to a JAG officer. And he said, well, why don't you take this to a local attorney? And I told him, well, because all local attorneys are esquires. They're not lawyers. And as he said, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I had to drop that when I took this office. Telling me, well, he was an esquire too. He was just dropping it off his name at the time. He's still an esquire. And he pretty much confirmed that to Dana here just this last week. He can't help us because when he said, well, because your friend, Retluski, already knows this. Because he's an esquire. So we can't go to esquires, right? We got to go to generals. We got to go to the military. The military is in charge of the United States. It has been since 1863 because the LIFER code has never been satisfied. I'll show that too. Right, General Orders number 100, the LIFER code, instructions for the government of the armies of the United States in the field. Well, that's what U.S. Army stands for. Article 2, martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation except by special proclamation ordered by the Commander-in-Chief or by special mention in a treaty of peace concluding the war. None of those happened after the Civil War or World War I or World War II or the Korean War, Vietnam War, none of those. We are always at war in the United States. We're always under martial law since 1863. No matter what they try to make it look like. In fact, one of the theories, the reason that Lincoln was assassinated is he wanted to end the martial law that he had called in 1863, and the governors didn't want him to because under that martial law, they became commanders and chiefs. And they had scores they wanted to settle. They wanted to use that authority. So they were against ending martial law. They wanted it to remain. And so they killed Lincoln. And he declared it September 15th, 1863, over the entire United States. And there's not anything written afterwards, proclamation-wise, which it says under how it has to be done, that ends martial law over the entire United States. There are a couple that end martial law over a few of the states mentioned, but it doesn't say what Lincoln said it would take for it to end. So it didn't end. All these things were done intentionally to make it look like they were doing what Lincoln said and never do it. And ever since then, we've been under this false government, while the true government has been, abandoned, basically, because there is nobody taking the proper oaths of office. God, I got to show you that too. Son of a gun, one more thing. So this is the first law passed in the United States after the ratification of the Constitution. I don't know why I got that little thing there, but where it says an act to regulate time and manner of administering certain oaths. This is 1 Stat 23, first statute, and the first statutes at large. Being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that the oath or affirmation required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following. To wit, I, A.B., do solemnly swear or affirm, the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. That's the entire oath. Nobody takes this oath. They used to take this oath up until just after the Civil War, and then they stopped taking it. Geez, I wonder what happened. Right, well, in here also you go far enough down, and it has an oath that the clerk of the House is supposed to take, and so is the clerk of the Senate, or the secretary of the Senate. And, you can't find these either. This stuff is supposed to be in the congressional record, and it's not in there. Right, it shows like the House taking an oath, but they're not taking this oath. They're taking an oath that you'd find in 5 USC 101, or 3331, 5 USC 3331, but not this oath. Well, then, this same oath then was later codified into the Title 4 of the United States Code, right? Title 4, United States Code, Section 101, that every member of the state legislature and every executive and judicial officer of the state, so that'd be the governor, judges, Supreme Court justices, Attorney General, Secretary of State, them people, shall before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office take an oath in the following form, to wit: I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States. I, Robert Allen Ratluski, not I, Robert A. I, Robert Allen Ratluski, full legal name, do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States. So that's what Whitmer was supposed to take, and she didn't take it. I've done many videos on, I did a Freedom of Information Act asking for the oaths that Whitmer took, and she didn't take this oath, so she didn't do it. Right? Her omission is the proof that she didn't do it. And it's not just her, it's all these people playing frickin' government. None of these people have taken the proper oath. You can go to Article 2 of the Constitution and find the oath that the president is supposed to take. And you can go find a video and listen to what is being said and compare it to what is written, and it's not the same. Right? There's no place in the Article 2 oath for the president for him to put his name. There's not like I, A, B, like there is here now. It's just I do solemnly swear. Yet when they take the oath, the Supreme Court Justice Roberts will, he'll say I, and then he'll put the name in, and then the guy will repeat it. Trump did it, Biden did it, Bush's did it, Clinton did it, goes all the way back. They're all taking an improper oath. It's all done on purpose. It's intentional as can be. And there they go, right? And that's on the federal side. Well, on the state side, they're supposed to take the same oath. And anybody who's in, right, the 6th article of the Constitution. We were looking at that earlier. Did I leave that open? Let's see real quick. Got that up here? Yeah, we just look at the 6th article again real quick. See who we might be talking about. Now, again, this isn't the same oath that's in the back of the manual court martials, but I think for this it's going to do okay, because most of it reads almost exactly the same, or does read exactly the same. So this is what it says: the senators and representatives before mentioned, the members of the several state legislatures, and all all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any oath of office or public trust under the United States, which is the other thing they do with the 2nd article oath that the president takes, is at the end they say, so help me God. Well, that's a religious test, and it's not in the oath, it's just added to it. Just like there's no place to put the name, but it was added in, so they're not taking the right oath. Well, this says these people need to take a proper oath, and that was decided by the first Congress that this is the oath that they would take. I, Robert Allen Ratluski, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. Nothing else added. That's the oath to satisfy the 6th article. If you got to take another oath, well, then you got to take a different oath completely, because this is the one that satisfies the 6th article. We're not trying to satisfy everything other than the 6th article. So nobody's taking this oath. Sheriff didn't take it. Your state representatives didn't take it. Your federal representatives didn't take it. Your governor didn't take it. Nobody took the oath. Nobody is who they say they are. Because they're not the government of the United States. They're the United States of America, which is a foreign entity to the United States. We've been overrun by this foreign entity. And they believe that we're governed by the Noahide laws. So this is why we have to get a Christian chaplain, if necessary, to file some charges and see where it goes from there. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. You can see what I have in mind, and I'm just trying to light a fire here. If you know a pro-lifer, please have them watch the video. If you're a pro-lifer and know how to set up a protest, we'll set one up at the cathedral and go demand the bishop charge abortionists under the UCMJ. It's been written into the article, 119A, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Death or injury of an unborn child is manslaughter. Okay, y'all have a good day. See you.